It gives me great pleasure to introduce our very next speaker, architect Gaurav Das Mahapatra, PhD scholar from Laboratory of Architectural Planning, Hokkaido University, Japan.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Gaurav Das Mahapatra. I am a PhD scholar at the Laboratory of Architectural Planning, Hokkaido University, Japan. First of all, I would like to express my gratitude to Dr. P. Satish Kumar, Dean Sir, Convener Professor Pradeepa, Coordinator Professor Dr. Shanti Priya, Admin Coordinator Professor Dr. Esther Shireen, and the entire family of School of Architecture and Interior Design, SRM Institute of Science and Technology. This conference, International Conference on Built Environment Science and Technology, is a wonderful initiative, and I really congratulate the team for organizing this wonderful event. Today my topic is universal design in urban areas, a distant yet definite reality. Before starting the details, I would like the audience to see this quote: "The worst form of inequality is to try and make unequal things equal," said by Aristotle. Through this quote, it is very evident that until and unless we start recognizing the differences, holistic development of a society is impossible. The notion or the concept of disability in India is not rooted to very good concepts. India being a mythologically influenced country, some of the characters like Shravan Kumar, Gandhari and Mantara, in Shravan Kumar we see that a very obedient son carries his parents to pilgrimage. But what we also see that if a person is old and blind in this case, he or she becomes a liability to the rest of the family. And that is, I think, one of the most important stigma which exists still today. In the case of Gandhari, it's more of it's not a negative character, but it's not at all a very positive character also. In case of Mantara, of course, we see that it is portrayed in a negative way. So the mythological translation of disability in Indian society in case of Mantara is that since she was supposedly she was humiliated by Lord Rama at a very young age due to her hunchback, she took the revenge by sending him to Banavas. So these are some of the things which are existing, and I had a very interesting session with Dr. Hemchandran Kara from IIT Madras. He was taking an online course in which he said that by the way, he is a person who is visually impaired. He is a blind professor, and he is an excellent teacher. He said that when he was young in Tamil Nadu, and he went to a temple with his grandmother, and he was making a lot of sound. And his grandmother said, if the people who make sound in the place of God, that is the temple, God takes away their eyes. And he makes a humor out of it that maybe due to that is bad, but that is a different issue. The thing is, the mythology has shaped the society in many ways, and thinking towards disability in a negative or less empowered way is something which we have derived from the mythology. When we talk about inclusiveness in Indian context, there are a lot of guidelines in India since 1947. And latest 2016, we had the Right to Personal Disability Act and also the harmonized guidelines. In fact, in 2015, Narendra Modi started, Prime Minister Mr. Narendra Modi started the Accessible India campaign, and in 2016, 2020 also we are having a program called BASIC, which is which is basically conducted by NIUA and AIALSG, and I think a lot of initiatives have been taken, but why we have not been able to realize them is a serious question. I think one of the most important reason is that these particular guidelines are not exactly mandates. They are kind of a support to the people. Next, we talk about United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. It says that a few basic things all the members of United Nations have to adhere to. What are they? You have to talk about physical environment, transportation, and information and communication, irrespective of urban and rural. But here in this presentation, we are talking about urban areas specifically. In line with this, the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, especially goal number 11, which talks about sustainable cities and communities, says that we need to focus and we need to give attention to the women, children, person with disabilities, and older person or elderly person. And also it talks about inclusive and accessible public spaces. Again, the focus is on older people as well as the people with disabilities. However, it is well understood that it is putting a certain degree of importance to the two important terms, which is accessibility and universal design. Accessibility, mostly in case of the planning, accessible planning, and universal design is slightly related to architectural concepts. In spite of having all these things, there was something which was lacking in Indian context, because as on the screen we can see the 7 principles of universal design which was developed in the US. What does it say? Equitable, flexibility in use, simple and intuitive use, perceptible information, tolerance for error, low physical effort, size and shape for approach and use. Let us see how this thing got modified in Indian context. In 2011, these wonderful researchers published a paper in which they explained what is today called as the Indian Principles of Universal Design. And I have been fortunate enough to be taught by Dr. Rachna Khare, and I have also met Dr. Raheja at different academic platforms, and I have also gone through the works of all three of them. What they proposed, and I think we should believe, or rather we believe in this particular concepts: Saman, Sahaj, Sanskritik, Sasta, and Sundar. In contrast or in comparison to the previous principles of which was borrowed from the West, there are inclusion of two important things. One is Sanskritik, which is cultural, and the second is Sasta, which is economic. So in Indian context, everything has to be economic and it has to adhere to the culture of the society. If it is not that, if it is not in those lines, the acceptability of the design solution might be debatable because of the economic and socio-economic and the cultural context of India. Of course, in 2015, Accessible India campaign came, and as you saw in the documents by United Nations, this one is also talking about three fronts: built environment, transportation, and information and communication ecosystem. However, Accessible India also had a very important thing which is called the access audit. Access audit helps us to understand the degree of accessibility required in a particular space or a particular building. And in 2020, we are having this present program of BASIC. If so many guidelines are there in place, if so many mandates are there, if so many directions are given to us, then why we see this kind of pictures? This kind of pictures actually expresses the real scenario in Indian cities, in old Indian cities specifically, or old urban cities in India, or in old urban areas in India. So in this, we can see that the context is not suitable for the person who is able-bodied, let alone the person who is differently able. When I tried to understand why this thing happens, a range of issues came. First, Accessible India campaign, which was considered to be one of the benchmark in accessibility scenario in India, got delayed. Unfortunately, yes, it got delayed, and moreover, due to the corona pandemic, it got delayed further. Next, according to Article 246G, the land is a state subject. So if some policy is implemented at national stage, whether or not it will be implemented at state level is upon the is within the control of the state administration. And in most of the cases where central and state are not in alliance, we see a large number of bottlenecks across the nation in the implementation of this kind of policies. Again, this we have already discussed that these are guidelines, not rules. Another problem is that there is a lack of capacity building. There is a huge lack of capacity building, which is not enabling our city professional to take decisions in favor of universal design. These three things, that is age gender pyramid, the models of disability, and the disabled population percentage, are another challenge which India faces at daily basis. The first one, age gender pyramid, unlike countries like Japan, where the age gender pyramid is skewed, that means the percentage of the senior citizen and elderly people is more, So universal design policies form the core of any developmental aspects. But in India, people often debate that when the disabled population is only 2.21%, what is the need of introducing universal design solutions or accessible solutions or barrier-free solutions? We'll come to that. We'll discuss those things. Next, model of disability. By and large, in India, there are two models of disability which is followed. One is the medical model. The medical model means if you are disabled, or if you think that you are disabled or differently abled or a person with a disability, you have to get it certified from a registered medical practitioner, and only then you will be allowed to have some kind of facilities which is provided by the government. However, this is directly opposing the concept of universal design. Universal design never speaks about giving special advantage to somebody. It talks about creating a particular environment which will be equal for all. Now here comes the most important fact about this 2.21% according to the 2011 census. 2011 census had a particular classification of disability. In 2016, when the Right to Person with Disabilities Act came, it specified 21 types of disabilities. So clearly, the number of disabled that is in India is not the correct figure which census has given us. Secondly, the disabled person is not the only concern, because United Nations have clearly specified we have to take into consideration the needs of elderly people. So that data is also not there. So clearly the data is not justified. Thirdly, in India, census is done at, for example, in 2011 census was done, and the results or the final report came out in 2015. So already it is delayed. Already a large number of increase in the number of population and in the number of disabled population subsequently has already happened. However, these things, when we discuss, one thing is very clear: it is very difficult to justify how we can introduce some facilities specially for the differently abled. That is why I propose my argument that let us stop providing any special facility or special kind of provision for the people who are differently abled. Let us create some equitable solution which will help a person with able bodied and the person with differently able to access the space with equal ease. If you ask about my interests in this particular area, my interest area is old cities, and I also published one book which is titled as Reinterpreting Urban Fabric in Cities with Living Heritage, the Case of Central Kolkata, and a few other volumes on the universal design aspects in core city and accessibility in core city. When I started to discuss more on this, I thought that it would be a good idea to explore or to discuss my concepts or my notions with the design fraternity across India. With this idea, I started a series of lectures or workshops across India. And I'm happy to state that the School of Architecture and Interior Design, SRM Institute of Science and Technology, was one of the first institutes where I conducted my lectures. And through this lecture, I came to know a lot of things. I came to know the actual perspective of the design fraternity, and I was happy to know that most of them, a majority of them, were aligned with my line of thought. Based on these initial workshops, I came up with the proposal for my present research, on which I am presently working in my lab. I asked a few questions to the participants. The first question was, do we need different universal design guidelines for old cities and new cities? Most of them said yes. Surprisingly, we have only one umbrella guideline for the entire country. Second, in your hometown, which aspects of the Accessible India campaign, that is the transportation, public building, and information and communication, people feel that accessible transportation is more important. So this was the particular event which inspired me to explore more on this topic, and presently I am conducting a lot of research on this. If you want to know more on this topic, you are very much welcome to go through the references, and I think you will get a comprehensive knowledge on this. With this, I would like to conclude the discussion. Before concluding the discussion, I would just like to say this quote: how a society treats its disabled is the true measure of a civilization. And if this is the true measure of a civilization, then we should admit that we are not yet civilized. Because in Indian context, accessibility is a rather complex term. It's a very complex issue. There are social stigma associated with it. There is the notion that a person who is disabled, or a person who is having a PWD, person with disability card, is limited in certain cases. However, people like Deepa Malik have defied them. Our Olympic teams, our Paralympic teams are performing equally good, or sometimes better than the Olympic teams. The youth of our nation, who are now technologically much more advanced than their predecessors, are making use of the technology and trying to find out alternative ways whereby they undermine their different ability or disability and perform at the same level or at par with the people who are able-bodied. The only thing what I can suggest is that if all of us as a design fraternity, as a family, can think that universal design is not just an inclusion like barrier free. See, barrier free is a different concept. I mean, till now, most of the schools, architecture schools in India, they're talking about barrier free architecture. Now, barrier free architecture, the concept is it is focusing on a particular segment of the society to provide some kind of design solution which will benefit them. However, universal design does not talk about that. Universal design is telling that through design also you cannot discriminate between two person based on their physical ability or cognitive ability. It has to be equal. The environment has to be designed in such a way that it should be conducive for both the parties, and that is what UN says, right? So if all of us can have this thought, and I think School of Architecture and Design, Interior Design, SRM Institute of Science and Technology has already incorporated this kind of principles in their pedagogy. And I think we should start, it's high time that we start thinking of revision of syllabus, and we can convert them from barrier free into universal design, which will be better. And we need to do more number of such kinds of workshops whereby we can encourage, educate, and inspire people to take up universal design as an important component of their architectural pedagogy. And finally, if you have any questions, I would be happy to receive your mails, and we can discuss this. It's a never-ending process and it's a comprehensive topic. And I also thank the Institute for this opportunity and this wonderful platform for arranging so many speakers from around the globe. Lastly, please don't think universal design as an extra component. Please take universal design as the only solution towards a sustainable society. Thank you.
Thank you, Architect Gaurav Das Mahapatra, for an insightful and remarkable presentation. We will now be taking a short break to play our sponsor's video, and we'll be back with our next speaker.
Tech Decor, concrete for durable aesthetic landscapes. Ultratech Decor is a patterned or imprinted concrete available in variety of shades and patterns. Benefits to the end consumer. First, available in unlimited designs, textures, patterns and colors. Thus, the customer has a variety to choose from. Second, since the product is integrated with concrete itself, the life is about 3 to 5 times longer than the traditional solutions like pavers and tiles. Third, low maintenance cost as repeated repairs are not required. Fourth, it is manufactured by using UV-resistant color hardener, which retains the true shades of the color for long. Fifth, along with good appearance, the product also gives skid and abrasion resistance, thus useful for application in areas of high traffic or areas where kids, elders, patients access frequently. Sixth, faster work as it enables speedy construction. Benefits to the applicator and technical influencer. First, enables speedy construction, so applicators can finish faster and take other projects. Second, low after-sales service as it has monolithic, which do not allow grass to grow through gaps. Third, contractor need not worry about performance as it is manufactured by using UV-resistant color. Let's learn about its application process. The concrete shall be laid on a properly prepared non-porous surface. Ultratech Decor is delivered to sites in transit mixers of 5 to 6 cubic meter capacity. At site, after laying and leveling of concrete on the required floors, the designated Ultratech applicators sprinkle color hardeners on top of the wet concrete surface. After sprinkling of hardeners, the concrete surface is troweled to ensure uniform monolithic coloring of the floors. Thereafter, the concrete surface is imprinted as per selected design using stamping mats. After hardening of concrete, joint cutting. At appropriate interval after hardening of concrete, joints are cut at designated distances and sealing is done to ensure crack-free and properly protected aesthetic Ultratech decor.